Jeff? Well, thank you. Am I allowed to do my Well, hello, Kiwanians. I know a lot of you folks. You're all like servicing the community just like, dare I say, Rotary?
No.
Okay, I won't. Thanks for inviting me. Just a quick synopsis here. I came to town about 14 years ago, and like so many others, driving down a boulevard one day, I saw these flags out, and I said, what is this? And digging a little deeper, I found out that, well, the story about Flag City, USA and its history. Now, I'm thinking that there's some of these individuals that were here at the very beginning. Were you here, Alan, at the beginning for it, Alan?
I watched Randy put it together.
Okay, so you know that for those who don't know about Flag City, USA, there are actually two that band themselves or brand themselves as Flag City, USA. One is a little town in Ohio, and I've got their name here somewhere. They put out flags on Flag Day, and they think it's a big event. Central Oregon has read into the Congressional Register by Mr. Greg Walden, Flag City, USA. I think that was back in 1997. And so I'll give you a quick rundown. I get to put my glasses on here. So this is start 1991, Operation Desert Storm. The troops are coming home. We all are familiar with the support of veterans in Central Oregon. So they made a big deal out of it. They wanted to welcome them with great vigor. And so Randy was on the city council at that time, and a couple other characters, and I don't remember their names. I don't have them down here. But went to the city council and said, we'd like to put up flags to welcome them home. To do that, they had to drill some holes in the sidewalk. And they got an approval to do that. They said, now where are we going to get the flags? And they went to the American Legion. The American Legion is the one that puts out we call them the casket flags, the big flags down at the Memorial Gardens. So they borrowed 200 flags. They put them on the boulevard. It was a big event. The whole community loved it. And then afterwards they said, what are we going to do to follow this up? Everybody thought it was a great idea. Let's continue the practice. There was some challenges in borrowing those flags for a second event. So they elected to find out where they can actually get flags. They went to their congressional representative, and he said, I'll get you flags, and on top of that, I'll have them flown over the U.S. Capitol for you. So that's where the process started. And so by 1997, when Mr. Walden read it in the Congressional Register, there were about 700 flags that were going out. And if you were here during that timeline, you'll remember that Mr. Eberhardt, he had a used trailer, and we'd start putting all the flags in. So the flags come up, the flags go up, naturally. They're all rolled up. We put them in all those pockets on the sidewalk. You can't miss them, because if you're driving down a boulevard, you'll see on the curb a little white dash, a little square, all along the main boulevards in Redmond. And right behind that, there's a hole in the ground, or actually a plastic sleeve, where the flags go in. So anyway, they're rolling these flags up every time, because we put them up in the morning around 6 o'clock usually. We take them down, depending on the date, anywhere from 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock. 4th of July, we take them down early because of the traffic, and maybe there's a little too much adult beverage that takes place in the afternoons, so we want to have those who help us off the streets. However, you understand. The point being that they were putting the flags in the trailers. They roll them up, and if you remember, there was this mob of people that followed this trailer down the boulevard. They'd roll them up and they'd stuff them in. There's guys inside. There's flags all over the place. They're trying to get them straight. Another service organization, it will go unnamed, in around 2010, a fellow by the name of Dennis Heeman. He was vice president of Liberty Bank when he was in town. He said, you know, we've reached the point where we're about 1,300 flags, somewhere around that neighborhood. We have to do something about this. So we decided to consider smaller trailers. And what you see on the boulevard these days, we have actually 8 of them. But Dennis is the one that started that out. The first one was donated by Art Horsel from the VFW. Trailer number 8 just went into service this year, and that was the Becky Johnson Foundation, funded that one. Other organizations in the area have supported this in contributing these trailers, but they're at 8. There are about 225 to 250 flags in each trailer. And as I said, each one has flown over the U.S. Capitol. Each one, if you look at it, look at the hem, there's a name on the hem. Every one of those flags was purchased by someone to honor an individual that they cared for. And you can do that also. So we'll get into that a little later. But the point being, every single one of them has been supported by another individual from this area. We're at the point now where about 1,750 flags. We have the largest flag display in the United States, right here in beautiful Central Oregon. The city of Redmond, realizing that this was something that they could brand themselves with, or add to their branding, if you will. They're already the hub, but they elected to move along with it. Somewhere around, and I've been in this since, like I say, 2006, I was involved in it. And it was Randy Povey that snagged me on it. And Randy is a fellow who actually kind of started the ball rolling. But anyway, 1,700 plus flags right now. A couple of years back, I was talking with George, the mayor, and he said, we've got a plan for an entry to the city, and we're thinking about doing something on the design, and something about let's identify it. And I said, and I'm talking to my friends at the other service club, and I said, let's put up a campaign to come up with a design for Flag City U.S.A. Dan Mooney, who now is with the city, he's an artist. He was actually the winner, and we actually posted a $1,000 award for that design, Flag City USA design. This went into place in 2017, I believe it was, tail end 17. And you can correct me on the date, could have been 2018. Mr. Walden came down, raised the first flag. On that flag monument, when you enter the city, there is an entry that says, "Welcome to Flag City, USA." Oh, you have a service plaque there also, don't you? And that's really what started it, because I was in a city down in Norco, California, and they have a big thing that says, "Welcome to Horse City, USA." I happened to live there at that time, well, prior to that, 25,000 people, 28,000 horses, and lanes all over the place. But a big thing, the center of the street is red, white, and blue, red, white, and blue, dotted. And I sent a note to George, and I said, we have to do something about this. We don't even have a service plaque that they can identify Kiwanis when you come into the city. So that kind of started the ball rolling, and it took a couple of years to develop, but now we have that, and the city jumped on and did the Flag City USA branding on it at that time. So you look at that, Flag City USA, you turn around, look at the big water tower over there, whatever that tower is, and it says the hub. So they're picking up both of them there. So the city's fully invested in this. And now one of the things that happens, we put out flags, I think 6 or 7 times a year, and all the major holidays, if you will. We have support from Kiwanis, and Rotary, and the VFW, and used to be the Moose. I don't think they do it anymore. CEC, big sponsor of it. Highland Baptist Church, very strong supporter of it. Who did I miss?
Chamber.
Chamber's involved also. Thank you. The Chamber also. So each one of these groups takes a major lead, and in support of that, we also have the Marine Corps Junior Reserve Officer Training Cadet Program at Redmond High School. And if you don't know about that, there's another long story. I got to let it because I'm a Marine. They've got like 130 students over there now involved in the program, but they come out and help. The Boy Scouts come out and help. The Key Club comes out and helps. Yes, I remember. There's, who else do we have to come? Oh, the football teams, Ridgeview and Redmond High School come out and help. And what typically happens is, of a morning, we pick up the trailers. They're over at Point S Tire, down there across from McDonald's. And usually around 5 o'clock, 5:15 or something like that in the morning, we hook up trailers, 8 of them. And if you'd like to help, I hope that you would. You bring a vehicle, and I had somebody with a small little, I don't know, electric something I wanted to pull one day, and we said, you're just a little too small, but a small pickup truck will do it, a little SUV will do it. 2-inch ball, electrical connection. It takes probably 30 minutes to 45 minutes to put them out. It takes 45 minutes to an hour at the most to bring them back in. Usually there's a driver, and the process works like this. In the back of the trailer, there is a cab card that tells you what your route is. You have a color-coded route. All the trailers have a color code on the back of them. Orange, black, white, blue, whatever. All of the flags now Thanks to the Redmond Leadership Academy, or Leadership Program, I was there in 2017, and our project was to inventory these 1,700 flags, ban them, identify the route they're going to be on, identify the trailer they're going to be in, so when Uncle Joe or Aunt Mary are in town and they want to find out where that flag is, where Cousin Ernie is, they know that at least Cousin Ernie's on the red route on the west side of 6th Street. You reduce it from 1,700 down to about 225. You can walk the route, you can send the kids down the route, or maybe you want to help put out flags or roll them up, and you'll find it when you're doing that. The point being, it helps the community become more involved. So much for the routes. So the community's jumped on board with this. We're rebuilding our website for Flag City USA. I believe we have an individual sitting right over there who's helping us with our website, and he's doing a fine job. And that will be available soon. But that will have the routes, the names, inventory, the colored route that they're on, the dates that we put the flags out, the times that the flags will go out and come in, the names of the groups that are involved, and the subgroups that assist with that program. So we're trying to make it as user-friendly for the locals, or anyone who comes to town, to be involved with the Flag City USA project. That's probably the largest challenge we have right now, finding individuals that want to be involved in a project. I was drug into the co-chairmanship because I was crossing the parking lot one day over by the bank, and Randy Covey's walking by and he says, you know, my family just had an intervention with me. They said, you got to slow down a little bit. You've got to get more people involved in this process. And how'd you like to help? You know, what do you say? Sure, Randy, I'm there. But we could use more me's. And those are the yous out there. Those individuals that want to help out. Different ages. We're growing into this now. 29 years of Flag City USA. The largest presentation of its sort in the United States today. I got to be proud of it. I love this town. When I came to this town 14 years ago, I saw what was going on, and from my background, and I'll tell you about it sometime maybe, but it's a very strong American-based background, and so when I saw the flags out there, it touched my heart, and I realized, I'm home. It's like that dog that finds a corner, turns around 2 or 3 times, and says, this is my spot. Well, I found my spot, and it's right here. So let's talk about what's going on with Flag City USA. Last year, I was drugged to a meeting, and they said, Jeff, we want to put the flags out on Flag Day, and I know a gal whose son is a commander for a B-1 bomber. Maybe we can get them to fly over. And I said, well, there's an idea. How do we do that? Well, you figure it out. So I started figuring it out. And I have since filled out the application. However, it said in the application process, they don't fly on Flag Day. And I thought, now what the hell am I going to do? So I contacted the city, and I was talking with George, and he said, you want to talk to Dan Mooney? I said, Dan's the guy that did the design. He goes, yeah, he's working for the city now, and he's doing a lot of promotional stuff, and he's the guy in charge of the 2 car shows we're doing this year. Seeing as how Pablo is not going to be doing car shows anymore, and the city's picked them up. Oh boy, now they've got their secondary park. They just added a park in front of City Hall. So I met with Dan, and we talked about what could go on, and then we started talking classic cars, because I'm a classic car guy, and we got all excited about things. And what they plan on doing, August 22nd, which is a Saturday, they're going to have the full park area in front of City Hall. They're going to have an event there. They'll have the biggest car show of the year, I think, 300 plus cars, motorcycles, vendors. They're going to have bands. They'll have a band. It'll go from City Hall and stretch all over to Wild Ride. And that major section of town where they have the big car shows, it's going to be right through there. So it will be a great family day, and it will be a great opportunity to do a couple other things. As we know, Mr. Walden's retiring, and he has been one of our principal supporters of the Flag City USA project since his time in office, since he started. And one of the things that I've asked to do is have the city send a letter to Mr. Walden, invite him down, and give him a big thank you on Flag City USA Day, first Flag City USA Day. And then it's an opportunity not for politicos. It's not an opportunity to stand out there and beat your drum and say I'm running for office. No, it's about Flag City, USA, the flag of our country, the history of the flag, teaching our youth, reminding Americans of who we are, where we came from. That's what it's all about. And letting them know, letting them see, we are Flag City, USA, and be proud. So that's what the whole process, and that's my concept. So we've got the date, we've got the city working online with us in big support on this. I've got that other service club working towards it also, and I expect that the Kiwanis are going to step forward and find a fit in this particular shoe that's going to work for them. Now, district governor, right?
Close enough.
Close enough. All right, district, I love these guys. I know I'm from the other service group. If you've seen these around town, you're going to see more of them because I have usually about 100 at a time printed. And we do this, Flag City USA does this, we pass them out. I expect I'm going to see them on the back of vehicles, I'm going to see in your office windows, and I have more. I want to promote Flag City USA for us all. So, now what else can I tell you about Flag City USA other than it's thriving? If you want to, one second Randy, if you want to purchase a flag to memorialize someone, the applications are at City Hall, at Chamber of Commerce, and it's $55 for a flag. And if you want, and that's with the name, if you want to add another name, it's another $10. Flags are good for 25 years, somewhere in that neighborhood, because they only go up, but they do get, the wind blows them, they get rained on, things like that. So what happens is, last year we elected to do a legacy flag. You'll see the legacy flags in front of City Hall. They're on a white, powder-coated steel flagpole. They have a star on the corner, they have a name on it, and it's a $500 bill, but it is a lifetime flag. So as long as Redmond's here, there's a Flag City USA flag that'll be flying, and when that flag gets worn out, it'll be replaced again at no charge. You have to do it 2, 3, 4 times, I don't care, over the years. You don't have a dollar trench in value over the years, supposedly not. So there's a lifetime Flag City USA flag, and we now have, we just had our 5th one purchased. So, and those funds that we receive, along with the additional funds for the flags, because we have to pay for those flags and the embroidery and so on, it goes into a kitty, and those funds are used for, we just replaced tires on the trailers completely. Graphics, miscellaneous things that need to be done. Maybe another trailer as we go along. More flagpoles. We just ordered 100 flagpoles. So there's a certain cost to doing this. So it kind of gives a brief overview of what we do and what goes on and what you can anticipate. But more than anything, what we ask for is your involvement. I see faces here. Hi, Hannah. I see faces, you were out there, and Randy, I see you out there, and others out here that have been on the boulevard, taking flags out, unzipping them, putting them in the slot, and at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock when we pick them up, rolling. Oh, and by the way, you got to wear gloves. You know, you're not allowed to take any wood with you when you're finished here. So the splinters are free, but don't take them. So, but more than anything, wear your walking shoes, carry up, and put the flags out. We'll have we have a spring meeting. Excuse me. It's in April, and I think it's going to be somewhere around the 23rd, but I have to verify that because the first Saturday in May, you may have seen this. I'm out there with about 3 or 4 others. We're pulling compressors. We've got the JROTC young adults with us, and we're cleaning 1,700, 1,800 flag holes out. That's always a fun Saturday morning. So, especially when somebody starts playing with that hose, and they pull the hose out, and all of a sudden you've got water, and you'd be surprised what's in those flag holes. So, and every so often they walk away with a bit of a mess, you know? So, but nonetheless, that's the first thing you do, is clean the flag holes out, and then we start with flags, and I believe the first time we go out is Memorial Day, is that correct? And then it goes multiple holidays after that. So, let's see, what didn't I cover? Now, questions?
So June 14th Flag Day is the time when Kiwanis normally puts up the flag.
That's correct. Yeah, but we couldn't get a B1 for you.
That's right.
But we were working, I was working on it. You're correct.
How about F-15?
What, sir?
F-15 out of Kingsley Field.
Well, I have a list of them right now, and I've contacted them on B1, they're kind of hesitating, but I have the contact in DC with the Air Force, but if you can help, I'm gonna talk to you. Just like Randy, you were next.
Are we gonna put the flags out in August?
On August 22nd?
Yeah.
Well, I believe they'll probably, we're not gonna put out all 1,700, but I would think there's probably gonna be about 500 of them to go out to cover the downtown area.
Okay.
So, unless you wanna help put out all 1,700 flags, I don't know, I have not had the conversation, but I would think if we can get the manpower, woman power to assist us in putting out, we'll put as many trailer loads out as we can for that day, because it's gonna be a big, big day, the first Flag City USA day. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, just want to take this opportunity because we got some newer club members here that didn't know Carl Anderson. I know you did.
I did.
And Carl was one of the original founders of putting out these flags and the Ribbon Flag Committee. Carl passed away 2 years ago. And so one of these flags our club bought, and his name got embroidered on it. And like you said, it flew over the nation's capital.
Yes, sir.
And then was put up in Centennial Park briefly, and now is in one of those trailers
That's correct.
with his name on it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In fact, and you make a point there. When you buy a flag and you have it embroidered and it goes out, the first year, it goes into Centennial Park. For that whole year, it's always in Centennial Park. And then after that, it'll be pulled and reassigned to another trailer, another location. The band will be changed on it, and it'll go on that specific color-coded route. So. Yes, sir.
Does OPT, which is an embroidery outfit here in Redmond, do they have your design to put on shirts, etc.?
As a matter of fact, they do.
Oh, good.
They made the hat. You're talking about over there off of 4th and Antler?
OPT stands for Our Personal Touch.
Our Personal Touch, yeah. They're the
Yeah,
ones.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And she's the one that does it.
Yeah, Elaine, I think.
Yep. So, yep, that's perfect. Yes, sir.
I just kind of a comment. This happened about 3 or 4 years ago. You probably know about it. But we were working Main Street, and there were, I think, 3 of us at the time. And the policeman came up and said, "May I help?" I said, "Of course." Next thing I knew, people were coming out of restaurants. We've had 6 people volunteering just the patriotism and move them to get it out there. Kind of a neat thing to happen.
It is. It really does. The community does step forward. Now, I can't say that when picking up the flags is always the toughest part. Taking them out in the morning, you get up in the morning on time, you can be there and you're awake, but after the first 15 or 20 steps, you're awake and you're zipping flags and everybody's having a good time when on board. But 6 o'clock in November on Veterans Day, pulling flags, and it's getting dark, and I have done that before, and we've had the trailers going along, but we haven't had anybody behind, and I stop the truck, get out, roll 5 or 6 flags, lean them against the tree, go to the next 5 or 6, get back to my truck, drive along, load the trailer, load the trailer, load the trailer, move to the next block. So sometimes we run a little short-handed. Let's resolve that situation. Let's get more community involvement. I've had little kids come out, grandkids. Randy's famous for that, bringing grandkids. And they may not be able to roll the flags, but they want to hike along and be part of it. And that is what, it starts from here and it goes up to the full-size adult. But you start them early, remind them of what America's all about. Get them involved in the American principles, the history, and, you know, it's just a great way to build America.
Other questions? Thanks, Jeff.
Sure.